Like, what do you mean? It's Mercury retrograde, a full moon in Capricorn, Jupiter moving into Leo for the first time in 12 years, aka one of the most consequential happenings of the year, and Mars conjunct Uranus for the first time in 84 years in Gemini, all in the same 7-day period. Honey, I truly cannot even begin to express how insane this week ahead is going to be, but you know what? Let me give it a shot, okay? Let me try. Tea is served, but baby, be careful because this one is hot. I mean, really, really, really hot, okay? Sip slowly. Be prepared. Hello, hello, and welcome to Astrology with Aliza Kelly. I am your host and your spiritual friend, Aliza Kelly, and I am so happy that you're here. This is your weekly brew. I serve it to you hot and fresh every single Monday. Yes, I do. And the theme of the week is buckle up. And the top 3 things you need to know are, bam! Mercury retrograde starts on Monday, and that immediately makes everything more buzzy and chaotic and complicated. And then double bam, 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 because just a few hours later, we have a full moon in Capricorn that is actually oddly aggro. And then what? One of the biggest astrology happenings of 2026 touches down, which is Jupiter, the planet of expansion. I call Jupiter Casino Daddy, moving into Leo for the first time in 12 years? Yes, indeedly do. That is absolutely major. So divas, when I say buckle up, I really mean harness up. I mean helmet up, okay? Be sure you are strapped in because this is not a metaphorical car. This is a metaphorical roller coaster, and this one goes upside down. If you are new here, welcome, hi. Thank goodness you found us. I serve tea on Mondays and Wednesdays, so as part of your weekly brew on Mondays, expect your horoscope, expect your journal prompt, expect a tarot pull, and expect to understand what the hell is going on in the sky right now because, honey, it is a lot. And on Wednesdays, the tea is, piping hot. We are taking a little break from our celebrity parties for the next few weeks because we have a lot of astrology we are going to need to unpack as we move into the summer months. These are some of the most intense weeks of 2026. They're hitting us with some crazy, wild, life-changing astrology, and we're gonna need to really be sipping, okay? Sipping as much as we can. And on Wednesday of this week, we are gonna be taking an even closer look at Jupiter and talking about what it means for your birth chart. So hold on to your cup until then. Now, before we dive into today's brew, I just want to say, hey, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of our community. I would so deeply appreciate if you could take just a wee moment to rate our show 5 stars, okay? 5 stars. Give us a review, and then, of course, follow or subscribe. And thank you for joining me here, my friend. Your support and your comments and your feedback is everything to me. Everything. You hear me? Everything to me. And I am so grateful for the magic that we can make together. Also, did you know that I have a whole entire virtual community called the Constellation Club, which I founded in 2019, and it's where I answer your questions about your birth chart, and I host workshops, and we have all of these resources. I refer to it as the Astrology Library of Alexandria. We go really, really deep there. And then also in the Constellation Club is where I host the new moon and full moon workshops, including one tonight on Monday, June 29th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Yes, this is for the full moon in Capricorn. So if you want to work with this big release energy, very important, very powerful, very impactful, join us. Head over to constellation-club.com. It's only $20 to join. You're gonna love it. It is the easiest, lowest lift, lowest touch investment you can make in your astrology journey. Replays are always available if you can't make the live. Head over to constellation-club.com to check it out. Okay, I have your weekly download coming right up, so stay tuned. We'll be back after a short break. Welcome, my beautiful community, to Astrology. This is your Monday weekly brew with me, Aliza Kelly, your host and your spiritual friend. And baby, do we have a week? A real week. Yes, we do. A week that is not for the weak, if you feel me. In fact, one of the reasons it's absolutely critical and pivotal that Astrology as a show, as a concept exists, is to prepare for weeks like this. Weeks that are so wild and so crazy and so intense. How would you even get through them if you didn't know what was going on? Well, my friend, I am here to serve. I am here to help you. We all need to help each other. And my mission is to make sure that this week you are buckled up, because we are talking about quick turns, bumpy roads, and also going really, really fast. Like 50 above the speed limit, s'il vous plaît, okay? This week is consequential. It is really the week where whatever you have been doing and working on for, I don't know, the last 7 months of emotional growth, it's all going to be squeezing itself into 7 days. And suddenly you're like, oh my God, it's all happening. Everything is changing. And that's exciting and terrifying and beautiful and necessary. And this is what you've been waiting for, but it's also here. So are you prepared? Are you ready? What are you going to do? You're going to grab your cup and let me spill. Here we go. First up, Mercury Retrograde begins on Monday. So bam, right out of the gate, we have one of astrology's most notorious transits touching down. And obviously everyone and everything gets a little chicken little, chicken little. The sky is falling during Mercury Retrograde, but does Mercury Retrograde actually live up to the hype? Is it really as big and mean and scary and apocalyptic as everyone seems to think it is? That's tea, honey. So let's talk about it. So Mercury is the closest planet to the sun, which means that it zip, zap, zops through its orbit, moving through all 12 zodiac signs really, 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 really fast. Like 1 year on Mercury is 88 days. Yes, honey, what is 365 days for us on Earth is 88 days on Mercury. So everything about Mercury is fast and sped up, which is why Mercury is associated with our words and our thinking and our communication and the way we express ourselves, the way we understand how others express themselves. It is also why Mercury is the fastest moving metal, and it has the name Mercury. The more you know, right? It is a planet that is structured at its core around fluidity and motion and flexibility and expression of all kinds. And it's also traditionally associated with commerce and transportation. And now in the year of our Lord 2026, technology and the way that we tend to our different systems of connection, which is really everything. Mercury goes retrograde 3 to 4 times every single year. So there's a reason that it sort of like always feels like Mercury is retrograde, because it is the most frequent retrograde. It is very often retrograde. So you can start to think of Mercury retrograde as sort of like your quarterly review, right? Like your quarterly check-in. Because the vibe of Mercury retrograde, when the planet of communication appears to move backwards in the sky, is an invitation for us all to explore the re-words, right? Re's of all shapes and sizes: reflect, remember, revisit, reconsider. And there's even re-est, which is rest, R-E-S-T, rest. And note that I said appears to move backwards. Yes, honey, more tea, because planets actually never really go backwards. They never really go retrograde, right? That would, in fact, collapse the entire solar system. But from our perspective here on planet Earth, when the speed of a planet coincides in a certain way with the speed of our planet here on Earth, it creates this optical illusion of a backwards motion from our perspective. You could sort of think of this as like you're on a train that's moving and then another train comes up behind, and it sort of appears that that train is being pulled backwards, right? Like one is sort of going one way and the other is going the other. Also, this happens like on the highway, right? Like a car, as you're passing a car, it could look like the car that you're passing is being pulled behind you. It's that effect on an extremely large scale, the largest scale of all, the scale of the solar system. It's good to remember that they are illusions, right? That they are not real. They are not actually creating problems, more prompting us to shift our perspective and maybe even how we deal with said problems. And now, because Mercury retrograde is going to be moving through Cancer, it's going backwards in the sign of Cancer, this particular retrograde is going to be stirring up Cancerian things in our life, our sensitivities, our nostalgia, how we relate to our family and care and tenderness and belonging and the strange emotional wiring that we are all sort of tied to, right? So over the next few weeks with Mercury retrograde through Cancer, don't be surprised if you feel like you need to revisit some important conversations about safety, security, the kind of support that you are getting or not getting. There may be some old relationships or old fears or old versions of yourself that come back around. And maybe you're like, wait, Aliza, does this mean that I should give my ex another chance then? Baby? I said Mercury retrograde warps your perspective, okay? You can walk through a funhouse. That's a treat, but don't you dare think about setting up shop there. Don't you dare think about moving into said funhouse. This is not a place you live. This is a place you visit. That's tea. Mercury retrograde in Cancer will bring immense clarity if we understand that it is showing us how our sensitivities are also messengers, okay? Sometimes these sensitivities are going to be calling for closure. Sometimes they are calling for compassion. Sometimes they are calling upon us to be a bad bitch and set some very needed boundaries, okay? So yes, of course, Mercury retrograde means that you can expect technology glitches or annoying transportation issues, some weird miscommunications, yes, some strange DMs from an ex. But the bigger picture, the more important story is that it's an opportunity to go deeper in understanding why you feel the way you feel. And to me, that is a tea that is worth sipping. But wait, on the same day, and just a few hours later, on Monday at the start of the week, we have a full moon in Capricorn. Same day. Harness up, Mercury retrograde, full moon, back to back. This is intense. Now, full moons are culmination points, okay? They are the halfway points of the lunar cycle when everything is exposed, everything is revealed, everything is illuminated, and they show us what has reached a tipping point. The moon does not love to be in Capricorn because Capricorn is ruled by very strict Saturn daddy, right? Who's like, bah, ha, ha, I eat emotions for breakfast, which is actually kind of true since in the mythology, Saturn did eat his children, but I digress. The point is that this full moon may feel oddly aggro and uncomfortable because it's really asking hard questions. It's holding your feet to the fire, and it's revealing the push and pull between what you are working towards and what you actually need. And it's tank. There are no coincidences, because while Mercury retrograde in Cancer is like, hey, it's time to review how you feel, the full moon is like, bitch, well, what are you going to do about it? And yeah, that can be uncomfortable. Maybe you're going to come face to face with realizing that you are exhausted because you've been giving too much, right? Maybe you realize that you actually need to confront something that has reached an inflection point in your work or your family or your relationships. Maybe you have this major realization about success and your career and what it all means to you. And if you're spending so much time working that you can't be with your friends or family, like, what is the point? Maybe note to self, okay? Now, Capricorn energy can sometimes make us chase goals because we think we're supposed to be chasing them. We think we're supposed to be wanting them. But full moons are also werewolf time, okay? Werewolf vision. So don't be surprised if you're suddenly like, I need to break free. There's nothing I can do right now other than burst out of my clothes and become a hairy monster. That's the point. That is what full moons are all about. They are all about release. So yes, you should be busting out of the costumes that are no longer working for you, right? You should be letting yourself run wild and really figure out like what fulfills you, what sustains you. And if you want to go deeper with this, remember, we have a coven meeting in the Constellation Club tonight on Monday for this full moon. And honey, we are going to be releasing. But that's not all, okay? Because guess what? One of 2026's most important astrological events also is arriving this week. Oh my goodness. On Tuesday, Jupiter enters Leo for the first time in 12 years, for the first time since 2014. Baby. This is huge, okay? Jupiter, casino daddy, one of my absolute favorite archetypes in astrology, is the planet of expansion, abundance, opportunity, luck, wisdom, growth. It is called the Great Benefic in traditional astrology because, honey, it takes big swings, big risks, and is not afraid to throw down some big bills. You feel me? Wednesday's episode, our tea party, is going to be a deep dive into Jupiter, its mythology, what it's doing in your birth chart, your Jupiter placement. I am so excited to tea with you on that. But for now, you should know that Jupiter changing signs is so major. It only happens once a year. And this is a radical shift to the energetic climate. Since last June 9th, if you want to be specific, Jupiter has been rolling through Cancer, teaching us about emotional nourishment and belonging and healing and home and roots and care. It has been soft and reflective. It really has been forcing us to understand how important it is that in order for us to build an abundant life, we do need to feel safe and solid and foundationally secure. It's really giving Maslow's hierarchy of needs, okay? You cannot do much until your foundational needs are covered, right? You can't do much until you know that you are safe and sound and held and loved. And that has been the overarching message and lesson of Jupiter in Cancer. But now Jupiter is moving into Leo, okay? And we are entering a whole new era. Jupiter is entering Leo on Tuesday. Jupiter has not been in Leo since 2014. So think about what was going on in your life from 2014 to 2015. Specifically, if you want to get into the dates, July 14th, 2014 through August 11th, 2015. Because maybe some of the themes and storylines and narratives that were present in your life at that time, 12 years ago, are coming back around. Now, Jupiter in Leo wants glamour. It wants confidence. It wants sports, okay? Get ready for the era of the athletes. Serious, big prediction here. Get ready for the era of anyone and everyone who has ever believed they were gifted and talented to actually feel gifted and talented again. Yes, diva, let us celebrate what makes you special. Like literally, non-ironically, let's really celebrate what makes you special. Jupiter in Leo wants creativity and joy and pleasure and romance and artistry. This wants us to figure out how we can shine and take up space and be seen and to stop apologizing for our gifts and our abilities. Confidence is hot. Right? J'adore. We love the energy. But confidence can also be arrogance, right? It could be hubris. It could be a little Icarus flying too close to the sun, especially since Leo is ruled by the sun. Leo is the king of the jungle. It's zodiac royalty. It knows it. It needs you to know that. So sometimes we may run into some larger than life in a negative way, cult of personality vibrations with Jupiter in Leo, okay? I mean people and energies and sort of the overarching vibe of sort of like strong arming your way into the spotlight because they can, whether that be through a booming, projecting voice or having enough money and power and access to do so. It's giving evil king. You know what I mean? But there will be a lot of pushback, okay? Especially as we get into eclipse season, deeper into the summer, when the North Node of Destiny moves into Leo's opposite placement, Aquarius, which is about the people. And even this week, right as Jupiter enters Leo, it immediately runs into a speed bump because on Wednesday, it squares Chiron, which you may recall just went into Taurus. So Jupiter and Chiron both at 0 degrees. 0 is a powerful point because it is the beginning of the journey. Each start at 0 degrees, so it's an initiation. And this is going to really ensure that we are actually being energized through authentic confidence as opposed to, overcompensating for our insecurities and tiny penises. Woo, that's tea. And finally, because apparently we are trying to fit in as much as we possibly can this week, by the weekend, Mars, the planet of action, is getting stirred up, okay? Mars in Gemini is going to collide with Uranus for the first time in Gemini in 84 years, which is such tea. What does it mean when the planet of action comes together with the planet of genius? It's giving aliens. It's giving like, beam me up, Scotty. Hey, what can I say? A girl can dream. But Mars is not just meeting with Uranus, it's also smooching with Neptune, the planet of illusion, and Pluto, the planet of transformation. So overall, we're talking about delulu and fast-moving conversations and weird news cycles and sudden realizations and everything changing so quickly that you're like, oh my gosh, I better be wearing a harness, because if you are not wearing a harness, you are going to be thrown around. Don't panic. I know you're panicking. Don't panic. This energy is purposeful, okay? Tank, there are no coincidences. Sometimes life changes really quickly because it is finally ready for the change. And after all of the buildup, weeks, months, maybe even years, everything bursts at once, right? It erupts. And that's how it has to be sometimes. That's how it is. Everything all at once, because that's the way it needs to be. That's the divine timing. And of course, that is also what I call tea. And this is quite the week that we have. As always, here is your journal prompt for the week ahead. Which areas of my life feel like they are really starting to change right now? And what does that say about my path forward? All right, it's tarot time. Every week is like really rolling the dice. And I say that obviously in this very Jupiterian week with Jupiter, casino daddy, changing signs. High stakes pulls, right? Like high stakes tarot perspective. If you're new here, hi, welcome. We pull a tarot card every single week, so we get another POV on the vibes. And lately they have been serving and spilling and really freaking us all out. Maybe I'm still traumatized from the Five of Pentacles a few weeks ago, because actually it's all been like really quite, we got the Empress last week, okay? It's been delightful. Let's see what's going on this week, okay? Here we are. Here we go. King of Swords. Oh, daddy. This is really interesting because in a lot of ways, like astrology as a show is Ace of Swords energy, because that was the first card that we ever pulled in our first episode ever of astrology. Swords, of course, have to do with matters of the mind, our intellect, our ideas, the way that we are processing our cognition. We have also pulled the Page of Swords, which is when I first introduced to you that if I were to recreate the pages, I would put baby faces on all of them. I'm not putting a baby face on the king. This is the appropriate face for the king, okay? But I do want to say that sometimes in tarot, people interpret these court cards as being like, oh, it's going to be a man. And because it's swords, it's going to be a Gemini, a Libra, Aquarius man. First of all, no, ew. Never them. I'm kidding. But broadly, I don't think that like any card is about a specific person, but more about like the energy that we should be channeling, right? And the King of Swords is the energy of feeling confident and secure and stable in our ideas. We are feeling very, very sure. We are not second guessing ourselves. We feel very resolved. There is a clarity and a real sense of purpose and really like the initiation of knowing what you believe associated with this card. And it is interesting that a few weeks ago, actually at the blue moon in Sagittarius, we pulled the Page of Swords, and our whole story has been this sort of like, you know, the building blocks of an idea, starting from our first episode way back in April to the Page of Swords, which we had 5 weeks ago, which was at the blue moon in Sagittarius. And now here we are, full moon in Capricorn, King of Swords. Like maybe we have reached a sense of conviction, right? Maybe we really know what we're talking about, what we're thinking about, and what we are going to do. I love it, especially for Jupiter transitioning from Cancer, closing out one chapter as it moves into Leo, opening a whole new cycle, a whole new story. J'adore, we love to see it. Hello, King, go off. Welcome to the kingdom. Here we are. We'll be right back after a very short break. Welcome back, friends. It's time for your horoscope. So let's get into it. Hi, Aries. Let's talk about this entire last year, because Aries, darling, Jupiter in Cancer has been a weird one for you. No doubt about it. Since last June, you have really learned and needed to learn about what makes you feel safe and sound and secure. Maybe you've been tending to some strange family dynamics or reflecting on your past, moving homes, redefining what home means to you, or realizing that success actually feels very hollow if your inner world feels like it's falling apart. Jupiter in Cancer has been teaching you that a strong foundation is your strength, period. Stability matters. Feeling emotionally seen and held matters. And that means, Aries, you also have had to figure out what it looks like to compromise and let people in, so that you can ensure that your needs are not the only ones that are being tended to, but other people's needs are also being considered, right? Because that's reciprocity. That's you actually creating a safe environment for yourself and the people who matter to you, right? Like there is a give and take. But beginning this week, Aries, things are going to start to change. Jupiter moves into Leo, and suddenly, thank heavens, life starts to feel a little more playful again, a little more romantic, a little more creative and expressive, and dare I say, maybe even a little more fun. Yes, honey. Yes, this is a gorgeous chapter that we are just beginning, and it is giving confidence and visibility and artistry and pleasure and dating and joy and reconnecting with what makes you feel alive. Aries, think back to what was going on in your life from 2014 through 2015. What were the big themes? What were the stories? What were the main narratives? That could give you some very solid insight as to what this next year ahead will bring. And if you didn't like that time in your life, whatever, it doesn't matter, because here's your redo. Time to try again. Aries, you are entering a year that is going to remind you that life is meant to be experienced, okay? What lights you up? What excites you? What makes you feel magnetic? Move towards that. Now, of course, Mercury Retrograde begins this week, and yes, that's going to make things weird. Some conversations are going to be a little more challenging. We also have a full moon. There's going to be some realizations around that, about work and ambition, where you've been stretching yourself too thin or putting the emphasis on the wrong thing. Ew. If something feels unsustainable, maybe this is your moment to make some changes, okay? But honey, you're not losing momentum, even with the aggro full moon and Mercury retrograde. All of this is actually helping you prep for Jupiter moving into Leo, because now that Jupiter is moving into a fire sign and it's going to be teaming up with Neptune and Saturn and Aries, honey, you are going to need a lot of energy. You're going to need a lot of caffeine to navigate these weeks and months ahead. So grab that espresso shot and dump it in your teacup, because honey, we gotta move. Hello, Taurus. Okay, so Jupiter in Cancer for the last year has been teaching you the power of your voice. And frankly, that's kind of tea, because in medical astrology, Taurus is associated with the throat and the voice. So, you know, interesting, esoteric, deep cut there. But really, since last June, if you think about it, you have been learning how to communicate. You have been learning how to trust your thoughts, how to express your feelings, how to speak up in ways that you did not feel capable or qualified to do before. You have definitely had to navigate some very important conversations or figure out how you can implement and express new ideas, how you can support shifts in your perspective, which I know is not easy for you as a fixed sign. And some of this came by way of relationships that were really challenging you and challenging the way that you think about yourself and the world around you. Jupiter in Cancer wanted you to realize that your words, your ideas, your stories, your perspective matters, period. And just because somebody doesn't agree with you doesn't mean that they're right. And it doesn't mean that you're wrong. And it doesn't mean that it's a matter of right and wrong, right? It's also about finding your people in a world where there are so many different opinions, and trusting your opinions in a world where there are so many. But now, with Jupiter moving into Leo, the focus is going to shift towards building something that is truly steady, something that is truly stable. I am talking about your security, your roots, your home, building a life that is actually going to support whatever comes next. So Taurus, this could look like moving. This could look like changing the way you define family. This could look like expanding your family. Maybe this looks like realizing that the foundation that you have been missing is emotional safety, right? That is actually going to make everything a lot easier once you feel like you are safe and sound in your environment. Taurus, this is really about locking in and rooting down, going down so far into the soil that you can build something exciting and beautiful and abundant from that place of true grounded anchoring, right? Like vision yourself an old oak tree. You need to have really deep and solid roots in order to get that height and to get those gorgeous, beautiful leaves. Also, I didn't forget about Mercury retrograde. Did you forget about it? I hope not. Because another thing you need to know is that Mercury retrograde starts this week. And yes, it is going to stir up some conversations that maybe have been ongoing, that you thought had come to an end, and then they're back and you're like, oh my gosh, suddenly I'm in the same loop. But hold on, you're not in the loop. Keep in mind as well that Chiron, the wounded healer, just moved into your sign. Jupiter is moving into Leo, immediately squaring Chiron in your sign. So this week, there is going to be a key central moment where your confidence, both your core confidence and then also like this new confidence that you're trying on, is going to feel a little shaky. You're going to feel a little insecure. And that is okay, because this type of courage building that you're doing is going to feel awkward in the beginning. But don't overthink it, okay? We also have the full moon in Capricorn, and for you, this means that you're going to be presented with this gorgeous opportunity to release what is no longer serving you. All in all, this week is about figuring out what you can let go of and shed and what you need to double down on, root into, lock into, so that you are ready to go for an incredibly exhilarating year ahead. That's T. Hi, Gemini. Okay, first things first. This week begins with a Mercury retrograde. Yep, it does. And since Mercury is your planetary ruler, you are going to feel this instantaneously, because that's what happens when your planetary ruler starts to do something wacky-dacky. Mercury retrograde is happening in Cancer. And for you, this is going to mean that you are revisiting conversations around money, security, confidence, what makes you feel supported. You may find yourself reflecting on how you're spending your time, how you're spending your energy, how you're spending your money, and whether or not this actually is in alignment with the person you want to become. But honey, Gemini, it's Tank. There are no coincidences, because this is actually le perfect time to reflect on those themes. Since for the past year, Jupiter has been in Cancer, and that has been inviting you over and over again to deepen your relationship with money and security and values at large. Since last June, you have been exploring new ways to bring abundance into your life. Maybe you found some new ways to make money, or you explored different types of worthiness, or you started to realize like, hey, what I bring to the table actually matters, because it does. Jupiter in Cancer wanted you to feel secure. It wanted you to feel emotionally and materially and spiritually abundant. It wanted you to stop second guessing whether you were actually worthy and just put yourself front and center as a priority in your life and be like, okay, I'm worthy. Now what? But starting this week, we have a new Jupiter chapter beginning, and for you, it's fast and furious, honey, just how you like it. Jupiter enters Leo, and suddenly everything feels more exciting, more social, more connected, more overstimulating. For the next year, big ideas, big friendships, big conversations, and frankly, lots of good ideas are going to be coming into your life. Oh my gosh, it's King of Swords. Is it you? Now think for a second, Gemini, what was going on in your life from 2014 to 2015? Because that was the last time Jupiter was in Leo. So maybe that will give you a little taste of what the main themes and stories will be this time around. One thing is for sure, this next year ahead, with Jupiter in Leo paving the way, it's going to be a lot more fun than last year. That's true. That's tea. That's a fact, Gemini. This next year, Jupiter really wants you to drink up all the curiosity. It wants you to explore and investigate and have really fun dinner parties and find the confidence to know that you really are always going to be the most interesting person in the room. And frankly, Gemini, we love to see it. Cancer, honey, wowie zowie. This is a major week for you, okay? Right out of the gate, we have Mercury retrograde starting in your sign. So naturally, very personal, right? Old versions of you rising to the top, old relationships popping back up. It's giving whack-a-mole. You may find yourself reflecting on how much has changed and also simultaneously being forced to confront the past in a way where you're like, ew, I'm tired and I don't want to. And then we have a full moon in Capricorn, your opposite sign, also touching down. And of course, that's going to bring some really stark contrast into the mix because the full moon is always this dynamic opposition between the sun and the moon. So you're going to need to confront that weird tension between what exists in your life and what doesn't exist, right? What you need, what you have, what you don't have. But Cancer, don't worry. It's all tank. There are no coincidences because the next day, Jupiter, which has been in your sign for the past year, is moving into Leo. And that means the end of an era, diva, and that is major. Since last June, Jupiter has been in your sign, and there is absolutely no way that you are the same person now that you were back then. Jupiter in Cancer has expanded your sense of self in remarkable ways. It's expanded your confidence, your identity, your emotional wisdom, your understanding of who you want to be. And that has been exciting. It's been uncomfortable because this has also meant that you have been outgrowing people and places and versions of yourself that you thought were forever. The thing with Jupiter is that it is growth, right? And growth is exciting, but growth is also overwhelming, a la James and the Giant Peach, okay? Growth changes you. And after this past year, you are indeed forever changed. But starting this week, Jupiter moves into Leo, and it wants you to gobble up everything that you learned and then take it all to the next level. This next year is going to be about your values and your resources and your confidence and your self-worth and your money, honey. Yes, Cancer, after a year of exploring your identity, this next chapter is an invitation to tap into the abundance of it all. And what does that mean, honey? You better start charging more for your services. You better ask for more. You better believe in yourself more. You better take yourself more seriously in every aspect of your life. I want to see you living an abundant life across the board, right? Abundance reflected in every single component of your being. Abundant love, abundant health, abundant wealth. And yes, part of this is also getting that bag, Cancer. Ka-ching, Cancer. Let's get you paid. Are you ready for it? I know you are. Hello, Leo, baby, it's all happening. This is the moment you've been waiting for, whether or not you even knew you were waiting for it. Since last June, Jupiter in Cancer has been making things weird, making things super weird for you. The past 12 months have been a time of closure and healing and spiritual growth and trusting your intuition, but also like walking away from things and saying goodbye and needing to actually find the strength to move on. And goodbyes are not easy for anyone, but especially not for you, Leo. Leo, you are ruled by the sun. The sun doesn't turn off. You know what I mean? Like, who flipped off the lights? Why are we leaving? Why are we in the dark? It's scary. Goodbyes are scary for you. So no doubt you've had to do a lot of big reflecting, big growing up, big courage, right? Big courage energy. No doubt you have had a lot of big moments of uncertainty, and maybe these moments have lasted for a few days or a few weeks, or maybe it really has been the whole fucking past year. Maybe the whole past year has been uncertain, Leo. And if so, I want you to know that actually maybe it's been a blessing. Maybe it's a good thing that the past year has looked like that. Not that it's been easy. It hasn't, right? Liminal spaces, periods of unknown, these times of uncertainty and questioning everything, like that's not a walk in the park. You know what I mean? But it has prepared you for what's coming next. And what's coming next is happening now, this week. Like, honey, it's here. On Tuesday, Jupiter moves into your sign for the first time in 12 years. This is your year, Leo. I am talking expansion. I'm talking opportunity. I'm talking visibility. I'm talking confidence, momentum, magnetism. Leo, this is the kind of energy that reminds you who the hell you are. The last time this happened was from 2014 to 2015. So think about what was going on in your life then, because that could offer some very key clues as to what's to come over the next 12 months. But whether or not that was the time of your life or you didn't like it at all, what you need to know right now is that over the next year, you are going to get bigger, bolder, brighter, more creative, more expressive, more you than you ever have been before. Take the risk, Leo. Apply for the thing. Put yourself out there. Shine, baby, shine. And yeah, okay, we have Mercury retrograde beginning this week. So what? Frankly, Leo, who cares? This pales in comparison to what the next year is going to yield for you. But okay, if you're off to a bit of a bumpy start, with the Mercury retrograde and the full moon on Monday, fine, sure. It's going to be bringing up some things from the past, old insecurities, unfinished business, but don't mistake reflection for regression. You are not going backwards, Leo. No, no, no. You are actually just getting started. Hello, my little Virgo, my little Virgo boot. Okay, first things first, Mercury retrograde begins this week. And since Mercury is your planetary ruler, you're going to feel it immediately, instantaneously. How could you not? You're probably feeling it right now. In fact, I hope you did not have any issues accessing today's podcast because I really need to tell you about what this all means for you. But Mercury retrograde always comes for you hard, right? And this one in particular is going to be resurfacing strange friendship dynamics, community dynamics that felt like they got a little odd and awkward, right? You are going to need to sort of consider whether or not like these friends are actually your friends, or maybe you're just networking with them and that's okay. But are they taking advantage of you? Are you taking advantage of them? Like, there's a lot to consider around how you relate to others and how others relate to you. Who's actually in your corner, who inspires you, like who is your emergency contact, you know what I mean? And because you're a Virgo, there's also a decent chance that you're probably going to be overanalyzing a lot of these interactions and really trying to figure out like the deeper meaning of it. Maybe there is no deeper meaning. Resist the urge. Because reflection is wonderful. We love it. It's very tea. It's astrology. But spiraling, getting into an anxious headspace for no particular reason, it's just not worth it. Especially because we have some major astrology happening this week. Jupiter is changing signs. For the past year, Jupiter in Cancer has been really helping you understand how you can build out your community, right? How you can build out better friendships and collaborations and take your vision for the future and actually implement it in your reality. New people came into your orbit. Other people left. Like, there were a lot of social changes that when you think about this Mercury retrograde thing, it's like it's nothing in comparison to how expansive your social world has become, because you have recognized that, hey, I actually don't have to do a lot of this alone. When I have community support, I get more done more efficiently. Jupiter in Cancer has really allowed you to understand that your people matter. And ensuring that you build your life around the people that matter is not a sign of weakness. It's not codependency. It's actually smart and abundant and creatively fulfilling. But now, Virgo, the energy really starts to shift because Jupiter moves into Leo, and so begins a very spiritual chapter of your life. Over the next year, you are going to go so deep into your healing journey. We're talking closure and intuition, and actually really an initiation into the depths of your emotional processing. You may need to step away from things that you're feeling out of sync with. This is an excellent time to explore spirituality, therapy, somatic work, just different ways of learning how to slow down, go in, calm your nervous system, like maybe do a yoga teacher training, maybe do a retreat, maybe make a big investment in what it means for you to actually understand your psychic abilities, right? Virgo, fundamentally, this is going to be a chapter around learning how to trust yourself. So think about what was going on in your life from 2014 to 2015, because there may be some really critical clues as to what this next Jupiter journey is going to look like. Either way, you need to know that something beautiful is brewing behind the scenes in a very big way. And even if it feels sort of like vague and a little misty right now, that's kind of part of it, right? Like that's the fog beckoning you. So move towards that fog, step towards it, right? Maybe even move towards the fear. Don't be afraid to go there, because you have been preparing for this moment. And where you are going to go from here, honey, trust me, it's going to be worth whatever that journey looks like. Hi, Libra. My, oh, my, oh, my. Jupiter in Cancer for the past year has been doing the work, the big work, the work on your ambitions, on your achievements, on your career. Honey, since last June, your life has really gotten wild. Jupiter in Cancer has expanded your professional landscape. It has pushed you towards greater visibility. It's asked you to redefine what your legacy looks like in a major way. Maybe you accepted a new role. Maybe you reconsidered what inspires you. Maybe you changed careers. It's all tea, okay? It's all tea. It has been a very strong brew. And this magic has really been the work of big casino daddy, right? Stirring it up, making sure that we can max out on whatever it is that you need to understand about how big and beautiful and bountiful your life can get. But now, beginning this week, we're going to take it one step further. Honey, Jupiter is moving into Leo, and suddenly things are going to actually start clicking. They are going to start expanding in the way that everything that you have been working towards actually starts to reach the right people. You are going to see that in the year ahead, your friendships, your community, your collaboration, your big dreams finally actually lock into place because you are going to find your people, your real people, your audience, the people who champion your success, who get what you're doing, who celebrate your wins, who actually understand your vision, and best case scenario, benefit from what your ideas are. This is actually how you can start to make a difference in the world, Libra. This is going to be a huge year for networking, for social media growth, for creative partnerships, for feeling connected to something bigger than just your ego, right? This is actually taking things to the next level in a major way, making it count. Libra, it's really a sleigh, okay? We love to see it. Now, keep in mind that we do have Mercury Retrograde rolling in at the beginning of the week. So right at the top, we might start questioning things, right? We're like, ooh, an old work situation, something's back up. My boss wants me to take on a few more hours. Can I do that? A former collaborator coming back with a better idea than before. Is it worth revisiting? I don't know, Libra. Maybe. But as supported by Monday's full moon, because this week is giving the most, you are going to be getting some serious clarity around what you need to be doing and why. Similarly, what you shouldn't be doing and why you shouldn't do it ever again. So take it all in, okay? Pay attention to everything. This week, you are going to get major downloads, major insight about what it means for you to go to the next level. Ultimately, Libra, these are the building blocks for a very exciting life. And you absolutely deserve to take the time to figure out what your legacy looks like and why it is going to make a big, impactful difference in the world at large. Scorpio. Okay, so since last June, about a year ago, Jupiter in Cancer has been opening your mind in some very profound ways. It's giving ayahuasca. It's giving psilocybin. You have been exploring, learning, growing, redefining what you want, why you want it. You have new philosophies on life. You have new perspective on reality. And frankly, a lot of amazing ideas that you are ready to implement. King of Swords, hello, it's you. And this is all excellent timing because beginning this week, Jupiter moves into Leo. And this means major career glow up ahead. Aye, aye, Captain. This is what you have been waiting for. Over the next year, expect major momentum around visibility and leadership and reputation, career, stepping into your authority like you always knew you should. I am talking recognition. I am talking leveling up and finally getting the flowers that you deserve. Yes, baby, it's award ceremony. Think back to what was going on in your life from 2014 to 2015. That was the last time Jupiter went through Leo. So what was happening then? Maybe there were earlier versions of the massive up levels that you're going to be experiencing now, right? You 12 years ago having a taste of it, but now, honey, you are ready for the full meal. Certain themes may be returning, but this time around, you are wiser, you are hotter, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing more than you ever have before. And we are so here for this, okay? This is a year that is truly going to change your life forever, Scorpio. And if I had to put money on it, which I will, because we're talking about Jupiter, and I do have a little betting, gambling edge in me. Yes, I do. Honey, I know that you're going to love this. I know this is going to be a great year for you. Obviously, the week starts with Mercury retrograde. So yeah, give yourself a minute, okay? It's an important minute because Mercury retrograde is going to help you realize and clarify what you've outgrown, and good riddance. Pew. Right? Puh, in the past. Also, Monday's full moon is also going to bring a conversation or a realization into the fold, right? Something very important that changes the way that you're thinking about people and who has your back and who doesn't. Scorpio, ultimately what I need you to know is that this next chapter that starts this week is about you becoming very, very powerful. Very powerful. And if when I say that, you start to imagine a Disney villain getting very, very powerful in the last 15 minutes of the movie, like, hold on, it's not evil, it's good powerful, okay? It's good power. You deserve it. I know that you know what to do with it. So here we go. Hello, Sagittarius. Oh my gosh, Sagittarius, Major Sag, come in, Major Sag. This week is massive because Jupiter, your planetary ruler, is changing signs. And this is huge because when Jupiter dips, you dip. You and Jupiter are in lockstep. You know what I mean? You are choreographed, right? You are always responding to those Jupiterian moves. So in the days ahead, your energetic climate, your frequencies are going to start to move and vibrate in a very noticeable and different way. But let's talk about what has been going on for the past year, because it has been weird. For the past year, since last June, Jupiter in Cancer has been taking you on this haunted swamp tour. You have been paddling through the river Styx. And while you love a good adventure, this has gone on maybe a little too long. It's been a little too spooky ooky for your particular taste, as you have been forced to explore some of the hardest and most thorny, prickly themes of life. I'm talking about trust and intimacy. I'm talking about grief and fear and loss. I am talking about the incredibly complicated reality of figuring out who you are bound to, who you are tethered to in a world that is actually so out of your control. Maybe we saw some relationships end. Maybe we saw some big psychological breakthroughs. It has certainly been inspiring, but it's also been exhausting because even with Jupiter in its exalted sign of Cancer, you have been rowing and rowing and rowing. You have rowed through the river Styx, in fact, for so long that you have gotten very buff. Sag, very strong, very roided out, okay? You are looking like you can really do anything now because you have guns, you have abs, and Sagittarius, whether that is truly literal or it is metaphorical, like after what you have lived through in the past year, you actually can do anything. And that, honey, is exactly what you're going to do. Beginning this week, Sagittarius, Jupiter moves into Leo. Yes, big casino daddy Jupes, your planetary ruler is moving into a fellow fire sign. And suddenly, hello, the lights are back on. Your horizon expands. Over the next year, everything that you have learned, all of your brains and bronze are going to be put to use. I am talking big new projects, big new ideas, big perspective shifts. You are so back living, laughing, loving in the way that only Sagittarius can. Think back to what was going on in your life from 2014 to 2015, because that was the last time that Jupiter moved through Leo. So, what stories were going on? What risks were you taking? What possibilities were you entertaining? Because those are coming back around, except you are 12 years older and hotter and wiser, and they are going to slay even harder than they did then. Yes, the week starts with Mercury retrograde. Who cares? So what? After what you have been through, Sagittarius, nothing can scare you, right? Like you have seen it all. So a little, communication mishap, a little like oopsie daisy, technology snafu, whatever, right? You can handle it. Also, we do have a full moon in Capricorn that is going to be shining a very bright light on values and worth and what you actually want. And the combination of that is going to make it very, very clear that everything that you have learned over the past year is information and insight for this new chapter that's beginning. If things have felt very heavy, either recently or over the past 12 months, I just want you to know that the energy is changing. You are so back. You are better and cooler and smarter than you ever have been in your life. So let's light it up, baby. Vroom, vroom. Here we go. You are so locked in. Hello, Capricorn. Okay, Capricorn, this week it's getting personal because we have a full moon in your sign on Monday. Bam! Right there, right then and there, which means big realizations are going to be happening left and right. Horrifying? Sure. Who isn't scared of a little full moon? But also, it's iconic. This is the only full moon in your sign of 2026, which means you are going to be receiving the most important insight and breakthroughs of the entire year at the top of the week. You are going to be confronting everything that you have needed to look at and really understand and really absorb. Full moons are about getting real. Period. Something about your identity, your priorities, your relationships, your needs is going to get loud and proud and be impossible to ignore. Capricorn, you are changing, right? And pretending otherwise is just, it's not going to work. You don't need to pretend. You need to embrace the fact that you are a werewolf. You have always been a werewolf, right? This is an excellent full moon for releasing. So maybe this is finally letting go of the fact that you have felt like you have had to be so buttoned up and in control. Like, you can also let loose and be wild. Don't forget, honey, that in tarot, the card that is associated with Capricorn is the Devil card. And that card is all about dancing on a table and taking too many shots of tequila. And yeah, okay, we also have Mercury Retrograde. So maybe don't do that. Maybe no dancing on the table and not too many shots of tequila this Monday, this full moon, because it is going to make some conversations a little more complicated. We may run into some miscommunications. We may have to confront some things that we thought that we had laid to rest. But honey, I just don't want you to feel like if anything starts to go wrong at the top of the week, that is indicative of what the next most important part of this week ahead is going to be. Because Tank, the same week of the full moon in your sign, we also have one of the most consequential astrological events of the year happening, which is that Jupiter is moving into Leo. And after a full year of Jupiter in Cancer, your opposite sign, revealing so much about your relationships and your partnerships and your dynamics and your dependency and your codependency and how you live life alone and how you live life in relation to others, you are now graduating and moving into a whole other section of the sky. Jupiter in Leo is going to be a massive new beginning, okay? You are going to go so deep, really, really deep, Mariana Trench deep. Over the next year, expect transformation around intimacy and trust, emotional healing, power dynamics. Capricorn, this next chapter is going to ask you to get vulnerable in ways that you have never been vulnerable before. And it's also going to ask you to get very, very strong. I am talking buffed the fuck up. Real transformation is going to require you to recognize that there is no one braver and more courageous than you. And when you do that, when you actually accept the fact that you are ready for whatever life throws at you, that you know how to work that sword, then honey, you are going to have more abundance than you could have ever even dreamed of. Hello, Aquarius. Jupiter has been in Cancer for the last year. Maybe you knew that. And Jupiter in Cancer has been helping you organize your life, right? It's been helping you get things where they need to be, get things on track, figure out your work, figure out your routines, figure out your wellness, figure out your boundaries, figure out how to care for yourself in more organized and practical and sustainable ways. Fundamentally, this past year, Jupiter in Cancer has wanted you to understand that your abundance is built through your consistency, through the practice of showing up tending to the little things, recognizing that you are a human, that your health matters, that you do need to have some sense of responsibility so that you can take care of everything that's on your plate. And it's been important, it's been annoying, but this week, baby, Jupiter is moving into Leo, your opposite sign. And now your focus moves over to your relationships, romance, business partnerships, contracts, collaborations, commitments, all of it. Over the next year, expect major changes in the way that you relate to people, because how you relate to other people, how you treat other people defines who you are. Think about it. Nobody cares about who you are when you're alone by yourself, right? People think about you as it relates to them. And now when you put the focus less on your independence and your freedom and more on the most important dynamics in your life, your entire reality of selfhood begins to expand. So think back to what was going on in your life from 2014 to 2015. What themes were unfolding then? Because certain storylines are going to reappear in a whole new way. Now, this is a great thing, and we love to see it. But we also cannot forget that at the top of the week, we have clunky Mercury Retrograde beginning, and then this slightly aggro full moon in Capricorn, and it's going to make you feel a little sensy, a little weird, a little vulny. Aquarius, take a deep breath, okay? Technology glitches, inevitable. Miscommunications, inevitable. High contrast exposure to things that you didn't really want to have to face and look at, inevitable. But you're going to be okay, because this next year really needs you to understand that the most important thing that you can be focused on and investing in is making sure that the connections that you have in your life are ones that actually support the person you want to be. So don't worry about the little things. Don't get caught up in the minutia, especially in the thorny tangles of the early days of the week, okay? Even by the end of the week, you're thinking about the long game. You're thinking about this new chapter, this new cycle, this new era. Aquarius, we welcome it. We love to see it. Hello, Pisces. Okay, let's talk about the last year, okay? The last 12 months. Because last June, 1 year ago, Jupiter moved into Cancer. Jupiter is the planet of expansion and abundance. And for you, this has really welcomed in a more romantic and creative and playful, expressive era, a time in your life that's really defined by pleasure and how you feel artistically inspired. Maybe you started to reconnect with parts of your childhood self, right? Like maybe parts of you that had been buried under the responsibility and the obligation started to resurface. And this whole Jupiter and Cancer story was a reminder of the fact that it's good to be happy, right? Like it's good to move towards the delight. It's good to remember that like you're magic and that having magic in your life is a critical component of not only your thriving, but also like your scaling, your abundance. Like life is better when there is more happiness, more abundance, more joy, more play, more love, all of it, right? But here's the thing. Jupiter is extra. Jupiter is very, very extra. And maybe Pisces, this era has also been a little extra, read all about it. You know what I mean? Extra, too much pleasure, too much indulgence, too much spending, too much biting off more than you can chew. Pisces, hey, we love to see you having fun. But since Jupiter expands everything it touches, after a year of saying yes to practically everything that crossed your desk, you're kind of burnt out, right? So where do we go from here? Beginning this week, Jupiter moves into Leo, and it is asking exactly that. Where do we go from here? For the next year, you are going to be doing a lot of growth around work and routines and wellness and boundaries, organization, creating systems that actually are going to help you support a more sustainable future. Pisces, Jupiter in Leo is saying, yes, of course, your dreams are important. We love your ideas, but they also deserve an infrastructure, right? Like they deserve a plan. They deserve some time carved into your schedule so that we can actually keep them going, right? So that we could actually see them out and about in the real world. These habits are going to ensure that all of the things that you love and that you're excited about actually last, right? That they don't just like drift away into the mist. It's going to be a wonderful and important time for you to really lock into what you actually care about, what actually energizes you, and how you can move forward from there. Now, keep in mind that we also have the week kicking off with Mercury Retrograde, which is like quite the thing, right? Not only that, we also have a full moon in Capricorn at the same time. So we have this sort of like sloppy Mercury retrograde that's going to be like, oh my God, my ex just slid back into my DMs. Should I respond? Should I give them a second chance? And also the full moon being like, look at this, look at that. Everything you thought you knew is different than it was before. Pisces, it's okay. Don't get too freaked out and too caught up in the minutia of all of this intensity swirling at the start of the week. Stay focused, stay steady, and trust that in taking the little steps to ensure that you're building a life that supports you, you are going to be living a life that is not just healthier, but is also more fabulous. Holy moly, what a week! That is all for this episode, but what did you think? What resonated? Are you excited for Jupiter in Leo? I know that I am, but let me know what you think in the comments, okay? And then be sure to join me on Wednesday for our tea party because we are going even deeper into Jupiter, and I cannot wait to tell you what it means for you. And then, of course, I'll be back on Monday for another week of horoscopes, and then Wednesday again, and Monday and Wednesday and Monday and Wednesday, every Monday and Wednesday. Join me for tea. All new episodes of Astrology will be served forevermore. So don't forget to rate, review, and follow and subscribe so you never, ever, ever miss a pour. See you then. See you soon.